Okay, so here's a question you've probably never asked yourself. What did people do before language existed? Like, seriously, think about it. No words, no sentences, not even a, hey, watch out. So how on earth did early humans warn each other about danger? How did they organize a hunt? How did they fall in love, argue, comfort a crying kid? Turns out they had a whole toolkit for this, and it's way cooler than you'd expect. Let's get into it. First up, your face is basically a walkie-talkie. Right now, without saying a single word, you could show someone you're annoyed or confused or totally grossed out. Your mouth does it. Even the tiny muscles around your eyes do it. Here's the wild part. Your face has 43 muscles. That's insane for an animal. And most of them aren't even for eating. They're for expressing. And get this, scientists have found the same core expressions show up everywhere on Earth. Doesn't matter if you're in Tokyo or the middle of the Amazon. Fear looks like fear. Disgust looks like disgust. This stuff isn't something we learned, it's built in. There's actually a psychologist, Paul Ekman, who spent his whole career studying this. He found these lightning-fast micro-expressions, flashes of real emotion that last less than a fifth of a second. You literally can't fake them away. They leak out even when you're trying to hide how you feel. Why does this matter? Because way before we had words, our ancestors were already broadcasting emergencies with their faces, silently. Which, if you think about it, is genius. You can warn your whole camp about a predator without making a sound that gets you eaten too. Now rewind, way further back, before humans even existed. About 6 million years ago, our line split off from chimpanzees. And chimps today, they gesture on purpose, like actually on purpose. They'll reach a palm out to beg for food, tap a buddy's shoulder to say, groom me, wave an arm to say, come here. And here's the kicker. They wait until the other chimp is actually looking at them before they bother gesturing. That's not some robotic instinct. That's intentional communication. Researchers have counted over 80 different chimp gestures in the wild, and a bunch of them mean the exact same thing across totally separate groups that never even met, which tells you something huge. This gesture system is ancient, possibly older than humans themselves. And here's a fun one. Babies do this too. Around 9 months old, way before your kid says a single word, they start pointing, reaching for stuff, waving bye-bye. And it follows almost the exact same pattern we see in apes. Pointing is actually a much bigger deal than it looks. Try this with a dog. Point at something, and it'll just stare at your finger forever. Humans point to share attention, not just to demand things. That's a totally different level of communication. Some linguists actually think language itself started in the hands, not the mouth. Speech came later, kind of riding on top of a system that already existed. And there's brain evidence for this too. The part of your brain that handles language, Broca's area, sits right next to the region that controls hand and mouth movement. Basically, the hands pave the road, and speech just learned to drive on it. But gestures only work if you can see each other. And early humans were often in thick forest, or in the dark, or just spread out. So they needed backup. Sound. Not words, just sound with meaning packed into it. Vervet monkeys are the textbook example here. They've got a totally different alarm call for eagles, snakes, and leopards. One call sends them diving into bushes. A different one makes them scan the ground. A third sends them straight up a tree. Same troop, 3 totally different warnings. Our ancestors almost definitely had something way more advanced than this. So as groups got bigger and hunting got more coordinated, that pressure to communicate clearly, it only got stronger. Quick detour on Neanderthals because this part's underrated. We can't know exactly what they sounded like. Vocal cords don't fossilize. But we do have a tiny bone in the throat called the hyoid bone, and Neanderthals' version is basically identical to ours. So the hardware for complex sound was there, and Neanderthals buried their dead, made pigment, wore eagle talons as jewelry. That's not grunt and point behavior. That's a species with a rich social life, and rich social lives need some way to communicate. Now, rhythm. This one doesn't get enough credit. Every single human culture on Earth has music, Everyone has drumming or clapping or some kind of beat. That's not a coincidence. When people move in sync, walking together, drumming together, singing together, something actually happens in the brain. Oxytocin goes up, pain tolerance goes up, group bonding gets stronger. It's literally why armies march in step and why concerts feel the way they do. One anthropologist, Robin Dunbar, calls this grooming at a distance. In small ape groups, physical grooming keeps everyone bonded. But once human groups got way bigger, you couldn't groom your way through 150 people. So instead, you sing, you drum. Sound became social glue for the whole group at once. Then there's the body, standing tall when you're confident, shrinking down when you're not, turning your shoulder away. These aren't symbols we invented. They're read the same way across cultures, and honestly, across species too. Who stands close to who? Who faces who during an argument? Touch, too. A hand on the shoulder means something totally different from a hand on the head. All of this ran constantly in early human groups. No vocabulary required. And here's something people forget. Verbal and nonverbal signals don't always agree. And when they clash, we trust the body. Every time. Someone says, "I'm fine," with crossed arms and a flat voice. You don't believe the words. You believe the posture. That's an old system, still running underneath the new one. One more wild channel. Smell. Yeah, humans aren't great smellers compared to dogs, but we're shockingly good at picking up specific social signals through scent. We can literally smell fear. Studies show sweat from scared people triggers real physical reactions in the person smelling it, even when they have no idea what they're reacting to. We can smell stress, illness sometimes. There's even research showing people are drawn to the smell of others with very different immune systems, which is your body doing mate selection math without asking your permission first. Early humans, packed close together every day, they were swimming in this stuff constantly. So how did all this turn into actual language? Honestly, we don't fully know, but stone tools give us a clue. Early tools, like 2.6 million years ago, were pretty simple. But by about 1.76 million years ago, tools show up that require real planning, holding a shape in your head, thinking multiple steps ahead. That's the same kind of brain wiring you need to build a sentence. So by the time real language showed up, the brain was probably already 90% ready for it. Language might not have been some massive leap. It might have just been the last puzzle piece clicking into a system that was already incredibly rich. And finally, teaching. Long before words, humans were passing down knowledge through pure imitation, and we're weirdly good at this. We don't just copy the result, we copy the exact steps, even the unnecessary ones, because our brains assume every step matters. That's actually what let culture snowball. Someone learns to nap a stone, someone else watches, copies, tweaks it, passes it on. No explanation needed. Watch a great chef train an apprentice today. Half the lesson is just hands, not words. So next time you catch feelings from someone's tone of voice, or read a room without anyone saying anything, or feel a beat drop and get chills, that's not new. That's hundreds of thousands of years of communication, still running right under the words.